Still trying to connect to the stream. All right, we're on the stream.
Welcome, 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 welcome to Whose Opinion Is It
Oops.
Anyway with Candace.
And what's up, Candace? What's going
Not
on,
much,
man?
Vic, not much. How's it going? How was your week?
Oh man, all is well in this wild and crazy world in which we live in this country that we refer to as the United States of America, headed up by your president, the Donald Trump.
See, you calling him my president. I no longer feel bad about all the stuff Mike said about you last week. Now I'm
No
okay with
doubt.
everything that he said
I
about
saw you marching, Candace. I thought I saw you and your namesake marching arm in arm at the state capitol. I swear, I thought I saw it on the news. I said, that's Candace Mushat and her girl, Candace Owens.
First of all, I don't know who
arm in arm.
I don't know who Candace Moonshot is, but whoever that is, I don't know who that is. No, it's been quite the week. I actually don't even know where to start with.
Yeah, really.
The level of, and Michael was supposed to join us. I'm not quite sure where Mike is. I think you scared him off, Vic. I think your Trump supporting ways have finally scared him off.
Oh, please. I thought Mike was in Lansing. I thought Mike was having a face down with the Trumpsters in Lansing. I thought Mike had a flashback to his military days. There
PTSD. I got PTSD Johnson D.
No doubt, man. No doubt. You are the former Rifle Club, man. Now you know.
I was an expert.
Look here, you're a veteran. You're a veteran, Mike. You know that Black veterans have played a critical role in the civil rights movement and the Black freedom movements. Huh? Am I right or am I wrong?
Look, we can go back to the Civil War about that.
Hello.
We can go back to Crispus Attucks.
Hello.
We fought in every war in America, and we've been decisive. Even if you want to go to the Tuskegee Airmen and brothers who fought on the ground in Germany and other places like that, we have liberated this country.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll just say to the both of you, at the rate that we're going with the way that they're raising and waving these Confederate flags, we might not have to go back to the Civil War.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because nothing gets me hotter as a veteran than treason.
Yeah.
And we have the president and the whole Republican Party and the whole Republican establishment advocating treason. Treason.
Yeah, they're playing with fire, man. They're playing with fire.
So, yeah, I'm with you, Candace. You're right, because if we keep going down this path, treason, sedition, splitting up the government, shooting Black folks in the streets, it'll be all legal.
I don't even know where to begin today, because there's so much stuff that has happened and taken place within a week's time that I feel deserves a good lengthy amount of discussion. I mean, there's just so much. I want to start with, I don't know if you all remember, but maybe not last week, but the week before, we talked about how Vic's president was attacking the Trump office. And how he was saying that he wasn't going to give them the funding that they needed if they didn't charge. And he kept specifically saying Amazon, who is owned by Bezos, who owns Washington Post, who are avid critics of Trump. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so he kept specifically saying that.
Let's get it right. See, they're not critics. They just report the news, and they're not scared to report it like some of these other.
What I'm saying is, I was relaying the message to you the way he would relay the message to you.
Okay.
Anything that's not
in the spokesperson, so you don't want to step into those shoes. They don't last long.
You are in no danger of me speaking on behalf of this administration. No danger whatsoever. But I will say that now, and as you recall, they have up the ante, if you will, because we've also been talking about having to possibly vote by mail in November.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Looks like one of the top Republican fundraisers is now the Postmaster General.
That's right. That's right.
Louis DeJoy, who is a North Carolina businessman, he's currently in charge of fundraising for the Republican National Convention in Charlotte, will serve as the new Postmaster General.
Listen, they are setting everything in place. So they want everybody to go back, make sure you got plenty of black folks sick when election time comes around. So we're in disarray. Our polling places aren't going to have the proper help and things like that. So we'll be in disarray. The post office will be in disarray. Mm-hmm. He just called Vladimir Putin and said, "It's on, buddy. Let's get it started." Yeah. So this is all coming together for Trump. He is cheating at every level that he can cheat at.
That's I gotta say this, guys. I gotta say this. And I was listening to a show earlier today, and they were making an excellent point as it relates to the impending showdown between Trump and Joe Biden. Man, let me tell you something. Trump is a street fighter, and Biden is trying to fight legal boxing. Come on, man.
Right.
You cannot box against a street fighter. I'm sorry. No, I don't see the energy coming from this guy fighting Donald Trump. I don't see it, man. Donald Trump will throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is trying to fight by gentleman's rules.
I agree with that, and I think the gentleman thing can work if you understand how to fight and how to fight back. But Biden he's going to have to step up his game. There's no doubt about that.
I will say this: I do wish that Barack Obama could run again, because then we would see. No, I only say that because of your point, Mike, of the fact that you can win like a gentleman if you know how to do it right. And I think that he would be able to have enough intelligence and finesse that no matter what Trump threw at him, he would still be able to hang in there with him and not have to go through the lengths of low blows or being just blatantly nasty. That's the only reason I say that.
It would be Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman all over again. The Thriller. Which one was that, Mike?
That was
the Rumble in the Jungle.
That was a Thriller in Manila.
The Thriller no.
That was Zaire. Yeah.
Oh, the Rumble in the Jungle. There you go.
Rumble in the Jungle. Zaire. He was. That was Joe Frazier. The other one. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay. But you're right. So, I mean, Barack Obama would be like Muhammad Ali. He would bring that kind of savoir-faire to the ring when fighting a brute.
Right. But let me say this though. In that case, I would say that Trump is the rope-a-dope kind of guy, right? In this case,
Trump is rope-a-dope.
Oh man, he's doing bobbing and weaving. He's lying and scheming. He's doing everything in the book to win. Now, Obama might have a good little rope-a-dope and keep it legal, but Trump is going to fight. Trump is going to be like Mike Tyson.
How do you fight Mike Tyson?
He knows he's on the rope. He'll stop the fight before he loses.
Look, Mike and Candace, Joe Biden needs a Buster Douglas moment. He needs a Buster Douglas moment.
I don't think we're going to get that kind of moment out of Joe Biden.
The good thing, the good thing about it is that Buster Douglas was a ne'er-do-well loser before he knocked out Tyson. So, so something good's got to happen.
Inspired though, Mike.
Biden's
win. Inspired.
And I'm just trying to find our feed on Facebook so that I can share this with some people. So I'm just looking for it on Facebook if y'all are wondering what I'm doing so that I can share it. But I want to say this, though. I do want to say this. With everything that's going on, with everything that's being done, with everything that's so blatant, even from activating the part of his base that will show up at a Capitol with guns. And actually, he didn't really activate them. The DeVos family, which we'll get to Betsy in a minute, paid people to go protest. But I'm just saying, but even with them literally holding the law at gunpoint, let's be clear, them showing up and standing over legislators with guns, you're literally holding the law hostage at gunpoint. Even with what he's doing with the post office of trying to secure a November election just in case it has to go the way of mail voting in November. I mean, absentee voting in November. Even from what he's just recently done with Michael Flynn after Michael Flynn pled guilty. I mean, even with all of these things, the fact that we still have to sit up and have this conversation and say that we do not have a candidate that's running against him that will still be able to handle him. What does that tell you about where we are in our country right now? That we still have to say, I don't know. It looks like
it's a street fight, y'all. It's a street fight.
I think we are at a pivotal moment in the country.
We are.
So listen, we're going up this hill, and it could be a downward spiral or a hard fall down. Right? We're going up this hill of lawlessness, of non-caring, of human non-compassion, all these things. We're going up this hill that we really haven't been in since the Civil War. We really haven't. And this is a pivotal moment in this country. And what we are seeing today with the disease and everything like that, you know, we are in a bad spot. And if we're not careful, it's going to be a hard fall for the country that I love.
Do you think that they are trying to incite another civil war? Because, you know, one of the things they love to say that they never let go of is that the South will rise again. They never let that go. They never let it go.
True.
Yeah, true. Let me say this. I think there are people who do want it in many different facets. But those people really don't understand what comes with it. You know, sometimes a robber has a plan to just go in and knock over 7-Eleven, but he hasn't thought about what he's going to do afterwards.
True.
You have a jewel thief that'll go in and snatch some gold and jewelry, but he don't even understand how to sell it or hawk it. They really don't have thieves and ne'er-do-wells and grifters really don't have a plan B. They just do the dirt and then figure it out later. That's the bad part of being a grifter, of being a thief, and being an evil person. You haven't thought it really out what it means to have people coming storming the state capitol with weapons and guns. You think you have, but you really haven't thought it out. Look, a couple of days after they stormed the Capitol with their weapons, we had a state legislator, Sarah, I can't remember her last name.
Oh yeah,
Sarah Anthony.
Show up in Lansing with a few guys that look like us with their weapons. Now, can you imagine that happening during the Confederate flag guys out there, and this being really a shootout on the Capitol ground?
So let's get some clarity of what happened there. First of all, what happened with that was that Sarah Anthony, among plenty of other legislators here in the state of Michigan, they all went live that day that happened, and they were talking about what was going on and how they felt, and how a lot of them felt unsafe having been at the Capitol with these guns, and it felt like a threat. And so as a result of that, concerned citizens who happened to be Black, but let's be clear, concerned citizens saw the videos and they were alarmed at the fact that lawmakers felt unsafe. So they took it upon themselves to be security for her for that day. She did not request them. They were concerned citizens who saw the video and decided that, well, no lawmaker should have to feel worried or intimidated as they go to do their job for the state. Not only that, but they walked in the building, no ruckus or anything was caused. They walked in the building with their weapons on their body, as we are allowed to do here in the state of Michigan, an open carry state. They walked her to the elevator. Wait. They walked her to the elevator. And once she was on the elevator, they then exited the building and stood on the Capitol stairs and waited until the meeting was over. They didn't cause any ruckus. There was no yelling in the face of Michigan State Police or anybody else. There was no blocking of the doors. There was no standing over the legislators in a gallery with their guns. There was none of that.
We understand that, Candace. You're right. We understand that. But us defending ourselves or making sure that we don't get attacked is what incites violence for them. That, I mean, you can imagine somebody saying, "Listen, I'm not here to cause any trouble." Well, what are you doing here? Why are you here? We should be following you. If you're out jogging by yourself, you just defending yourself against somebody with a shotgun on you, meaning that you're fighting somebody with a shotgun and you got a right to kill. and
you're referring to what happened in Georgia 2 months ago. 2 months ago, what happened
in Georgia? Yeah.
2 months ago, a young man was out jogging.
3 months ago. This is February.
It's 3 months now. That's right. 3 months ago, a young man was out jogging as he normally does in a neighborhood. In which case, he was, first of all, followed by one man in a truck, and then 2 others in a truck in front of him stopped him as he decided to go around the situation. The driver of that truck then came around to the front of the truck and began to try and assault the man. And once the man was getting the best of the driver, who was trying to hold him at shotgun point, who was trying to hold him at shotgun point, the other guy who was in the back of the truck, it appears he took out his gun and fired as well. So what you have here is an attempt to and I don't understand why George is not looking at it. First of all, you're attempting to kidnap me. You have no authority to stop me. And then to say the people that are using the argument that it was a citizen's arrest and that he didn't answer simple commands. Who are you that I have to answer simple commands? I don't have to answer to you.
So listen. So let me. So I know you're a millennial, and y'all don't think y'all have to answer simple commands. But back in the day, they would ask you for your papers. This is no things haven't changed that much. And I've learned this over time as I've become older. When the police stop me now, I don't ask what you stopped me for. I put my hands out the window and I wait for him to tell me what he's going to do, because it's out of your hands at that point. And when Ahmaud Arbery fights for his life, even that people are looking for doubt in him. Now, we've just started. Remember this, and mark my words. They're going to talk about maybe he smoked weed as a high school student.
They've already started that.
So already his character is being
assassinated.
They brought up because they were trying to say it was a burglary. So they brought up a time where he allegedly shoplifted when he was younger. They already did that.
So back to the point we were talking about in the beginning. Us defending ourselves, no matter what the circumstances, is looked at as a threat.
But folks, listen to what we're talking about. We're talking about a state legislature, the sister in Lansing, right? Who now is being accompanied to work with brothers who are guarding her. We're talking about politics here. We're talking about politics. So symbolically and in a real way, look at the crossroads where America is today, right now. Now, we made reference to the possibility of an impending civil war. You know what? We're right at the precipice of that. We're
I think this is the thing. I think this is the thing with that, and I think that
great point.
Everybody else is not clear on the fact that by the time everybody realizes we are already in the war will be half over. The thing that you have to realize is, I think the minute that they swore in Vic's president was the minute that war began. That's the thing that you have to understand. I mean, if you look at everything that's been happening, from the allowances of leaving children in cages, the allowances of soliciting foreign nations to take out your opponents, all of that. And the fact that they've been willing to let all of that go. The fact that his statement about this case in Georgia was, we don't know what happened before the video started. The fact that those people with the tiki torches, that he said there were good people on both sides. All of this. I think the thing that you don't understand is they've made up in their minds that we don't want to be equal to any of you. We don't want to share this country. We don't want any of that. And before we do any of that, we will implode it. We will burn it down ourselves before we give you a piece of it.
That's the point. And that's the point, Candace. Your point speaks to the necessity of effective leadership. We need a statesperson who's in the Oval Office. I don't give a doggone what party that person comes from, right? We need a statesperson in that office, because the divide that exists in American society is so great. We can't have fractionalism. We can't have division. We can't have partisanship for a person who holds that office. It's inevitable. The break is inevitable. I'm looking at the Roman Empire all over again. That's what we're looking at the fall of the Roman Empire all over again. It's revisited, right? Rome at the apex of the Roman civilization. There was no power external to Rome, no military power, no economic power, or what have you, that was powerful enough to bring Rome down. You know what caused Rome to fall? It was Rome's internal demise. We're looking at the internal demise of American society from an ethical standpoint, from a moral standpoint, from an economic standpoint as well, and from a political standpoint. Well, that's what we're looking at, folks.
Look, I agree, but I got to correct some of it. And you're right, Brother Vic. One of the things, though, it does matter which party's in, right? At this point,
the point I'm making, Mike, is that you're going to have either a Democrat or a Republican in the White House. What I'm saying is that we've got to be bigger than our party. That's all. That's the point that I'm making. It matters, right, in terms of policy and so forth and worldview. But I'm making reference to the person who's in that White House. We're at a place where we need a statesperson in that White House. That's the point I'm making.
I think Republicans have shown us, just like we found out in the Civil War, they are not about keeping this country together. And
Vic is talking about negotiations with people that are not going to negotiate with you. It's not going to happen.
Let me say this to you. Because to be honest with you, I think we're at a place, folks, where no matter what political party you're talking about, people are only able to see their side of the story, and they're not able to see the other side of the story. I totally get what you're saying, Candace. When you look at who's, let me finish this point, Mike. Candace, you're right. There comes a time when you're dealing with a certain person that you're not able to negotiate with. Okay, I get that. Right? With this guy, there's not going to be any negotiating. There's not. With the guy who's in the White House, there's not going to be any negotiations. That's all I'm saying. But I'm saying, hypothetically, we need a person in that position who is a statesperson. That's the only point I'm making here.
So this is when I adopt your Street Fighter mode. Look, I'm done negotiating with them.
They're done negotiating with you. Don't worry.
You can't. Look, they all are complicit. From Betsy DeVos to Flynn to Tucker Carlson. Look, I heard Tucker Carlson the other day, yesterday, call Ilhan Omar. He called her wretched. He called her inconsiderate, a race baiter. In this day and age, he called her a race baiter because she dared to say that Michael Flynn was benefiting from white privilege.
I get you. Trump called the Obama administration scum today. Earlier today, he called them scum.
So let's bring it back just a little bit. So I understand what you're saying, and I want to underscore this. That is 35% of the population, which is significant, that believes that Trump is great and he is the man. There's 35% of the population that believes that. They're okay with him doing whatever, actually going around and killing 75,000 people and calling it a success. They're okay with that. Now, those people you're never going to reach. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. But the others, you've got to not necessarily just reach them, but you've got to show them a better way. These people are lost in the wilderness. They don't know what to do. They have no idea what to do right now. Mm-hmm. And they need some true leadership. And that's where Biden is going to have to pick up the mantle. And I agree with you, Brother Vic. He's got to step up his game.
He's got to. Absolutely. But the question is this, Mike and Candace, what's going to look? What does the future hold for American society if we continue down this road?
Well,
we're seeing what I'm telling you. I'm telling you with this. You're going to have two Americas. That Confederate flag is going to live out loud, proud, and free. Right now, there's still some shame attached to it. But if we continue to go down this road, what's going to happen is you're going to have that two Americas. You're going to have that split. We are in civil war territory. That is the bottom line.
I agree.
That's where we are.
And I totally get that, Candace. But see, there is a view in American society that can't happen to America. That's the only reason why I'm raising this point. Because you have people in this country who believe that cannot happen to American society. Civilizations rise and fall all the time. As Greece, as Rome, as Egypt.
Vic, at this point, people that are saying that can't happen to American society, they are in a fairy tale.
Denial. But that ain't new to Americans, though. Americans live in denial 24/7. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, y'all.
Look, let me ask you a question. Have you once seen any video of the kids who are in cages catching COVID? You don't know what their status is or anything. That tells you the evilness that we're dealing with here.
True.
All right. So look, Kylie McEnany, the new spokesperson that Candace wants her job, Trump, the new spokesperson.
No, not at all.
Got on today and said that the FBI was investigating Flynn and they were wrong, and the FBI needs to be investigated. Listen, I don't know what is happening, but when you can attack the FBI, the CIA, and call them all kind of crazies, you're in trouble. And we better get our stuff together. Michael Flynn and the rest of them are traitors to the nation. And when Trump called Vladimir Putin, that was his next call after A.G. Barr, who didn't, hold on, A.G. Barr did not prosecute this case with Ahmaud Arbery. He declined it. He has not taken any case that has dealt with racial animus or Ku Klux Klan doing things to black folks, or Proud Boys. But he has gone after the FBI and the CIA. I'm convinced that he is a Russian asset. Trump is a Russian asset. Michael Flynn, we know he was a Russian asset. He pleaded guilty twice to it. And they're letting this man off, and they're trying to rehabilitate his image. You know why? So they can knock down the Mueller investigation. And look, the only reason Mueller wasn't able to get out the truth because Flynn refused to tell the truth. Think about that. This is where we are, and these people are saying Flynn is okay, and good FBI agents. And listen, I ain't one to sit here and talk about the FBI has been great for black people or the CIA, but good Lord, these are the people they're supposed to have love. And now they're dragging down the FBI and the CIA. This is a Putin playbook for right wingers. This is a Putin playbook for a strongman type of government. That is what they want. That's what they're going towards, and we have to fight it back because democracy will be dead if you let this man stay another 4 years.
And Mike, you know what this is?
He's gonna go if he loses. Think about that. Can you tell me right now that this man will go peacefully if he loses?
No question. He's not.
Nobody can say that.
He's not.
No.
And you know what this is, y'all? They're about upending the so-called normies. You understand that, right? That's what the alt-right and those that ilk are saying. They're upending the normies, and in a sense, the revolution will not be televised. It's already taking place. It's going down right now. And remember, Trump's former head advisor, Steve Bannon, was saying that essentially what they want to do is turn this thing on its head, turn the American institutions and the establishment on its head. Essentially, they're doing just that. The Trump administration is testing the very veracity of the American social, political, economic system. It really is.
Under the guidance of Vladimir Putin's playbook. See,
no doubt.
You don't understand. If people don't understand it, they talk about the Russia hoax or whatever, but the best thing that Vladimir Putin did is convince you that he's not a bad guy. He's a great guy. And even in Russia, look, do you know that 3 reporters have fallen out of windows in Russia in the last 3 weeks?
Absolutely. No doubt.
Now, I mean, think about that because they dared to say, hey, wait, we have a COVID problem here. I think it's 3 doctors. I'll take that back. 3 doctors have been pushed out of windows. And that sends a message to anybody else. You want to talk trash? We'll put you out of a window.
No doubt.
Doctors are flying out of windows in Russia.
That sounds like some old school gangster stuff. That sounds like thug stuff.
Well, it's happening. And don't you think that Trump would, if he could, would push anybody who's disagreeing with him out of a window if he could?
I need you to know that that's exactly where he's heading. That's his next step. Yeah. And his base is still going to claim that he's right. As a matter of fact, his base is going to start pushing people out of windows too. Anytime you can stand at a Capitol with a gun over lawmakers while they're voting, that means we're done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, this man is trouble. This man is trouble. Listen, from everybody in every organization, he's put in his cronies. At the CDC now, he's got some of his main people at the CDC. Now Trump came out with the guidelines to reopen America just recently. And the CDC, it was whitewash, basically, up and down kind of stuff. Just do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. The CDC came in with great guidelines about how we should deal with maybe when you go to church. Here's what you should do: not exchange Bibles, wipe down the pews after sessions, things like that. Do you know right now the Trump administration is burying that report?
Yeah, I heard about that. It came from our
CDC, who's supposed to deal with the diseases, and the Trump administration is burying that report as we speak.
Absolutely, that's right.
Because this guy's in space. We talk about education. He wants kids to go back to school, and school's pretty much over with. And your girl, Candace, what's her name? Betsy DeVos, is going to make sure when they get back.
That's not my girl. That's one thing we can't joke about. That's one thing we cannot joke about. No, and I'm going to tell you why we can't joke about her. If you look at the changes that have been made to the Title IX regulations, that no longer require coaches to report sexual misconduct. That actually words are they are trying to have stronger protections for the accused.
That's amazing. Right. That's amazing. Right. Yeah. They're protecting those institutions, man. It's all about the money. It's all about the money.
That's right.
Not only that, but
then call it white.
Even with these regulations, now they're basically trying to intimidate sexual assault victims, sexual assault witnesses before it even happens. Then they're saying they're leaving it up to the colleges. If this person is in a program that is bringing my program millions of dollars, I'm going to choose the money over your mental status. I'm going to choose the money over your violated body.
That's right.
The level of it's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
It is absolutely disgusting.
It's diabolical.
And more importantly, I don't know if you noticed, but they always use the very people that should fight against what's being done to do the work. She is a woman. So as a woman, how she stands there,
absolutely,
she stands on the side of that will put sexual assault victims, that will re-victimize victims, that will make them silent, that will make people possibly drop out of college, that will make people possibly end their lives.
That's true.
That's right.
That's true. Very true. Very true.
And for her to
that's
say,
reprehensible.
we're trying to protect the accused, that we're going to, that they need to make sure they report it to the right person. What is that?
Wow.
Well,
it's diabolical.
Sure, it's diabolical. And when you talk about Joe Paterno, what happened at Penn State, when you talk about what happened at Michigan, that means these things we wouldn't know these things. Exactly. And let me say this: it also protects priests and people like that.
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
Oh, because did you see at the religious colleges that even if they are caught, that they're protected? Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. Are you serious? I didn't see that.
Hold on, I'm gonna
That's amazing.
Some key things that this thing does. Hold on one second.
They're trying to protect.
Hey. So, and while we're on this, you folks do know, man. There is as sickening as this is. There's a network of practitioners of pedophilia out there, man, and some of them are some powerful people.
They're out there.
There's some powerful people. No question about that. I used to work for a not-for-profit organization, and we used to have training about sexual assault and child abuse and things of that nature, and what to look for in a potential predator and whatnot, man. And in one organization that I was a part of, man, me and my district chair, we had to strip a predator, a pedophile, of his membership in this organization and kick him out of the organization because we found out that this guy was a pedophile. That's the serious, man. It runs deep. That rabbit hole runs deep, y'all.
Well. I mean, look at how we've dealt with things in America. We have milk cartons for kids who we'll never find.
Right.
We don't even know where they're at to this day.
And some of them still living, Mike.
Sure.
They're kidnapped.
Right. They're kidnapped and they're still living in basements
and being tortured.
Crawl spaces or being tortured. We had people in Utah. He had two girls he was holding.
Just how about this? If you think some of those missing children that did end up in cages that were shipped off to other homes, if you don't think they ended up in the hands of pedophiles and will never see their family again, then you're delusional.
Yeah,
no doubt about that.
We got babies being raised by pedophiles right now. There were those kids in cages. They're Latino. They don't speak the language, and they don't know where they are. Right now, we don't know where these kids are.
And you know what, y'all?
They're feeding these pedophile rings that you're talking about, Minister Vic.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all know about all the black women, man. The black women who annually are missing. I heard one report that said that upwards to 60,000 black women, have been kidnapped.
Well, what they do, they'll label them prostitutes or mental problems, and then just say, they're out there somewhere.
Absolutely.
And so as a country, we've got to be careful how we who we put in place.
Absolutely.
Betsy DeVos is okay with this kind of stuff, and she needs to be called on the carpet. Listen, the whole Trump administration, she's in his cabinet.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get this all straight out here.
True.
This is something his cabinet condones.
That's amazing.
Now, if you got, let's say you got a problem with you're okay with Trump with the whole racial aspect. You're okay with Trump with the China thing. You're okay with Trump and the Russia thing. Are you okay with Trump in this?
I'm telling you,
really?
The answer to that is yes. And let me tell you why I know the answer to that is yes. Because if you'll review there were young ladies assaulted in other states. This young lady was raped behind a garbage can. And the judge gave that man, 6 months, and then let him go after 3 because he didn't want to ruin that young man's life. And there was no real outrage behind what happened to that girl. So yes, they are okay with it. Yes.
He had a case of affluenza, right, Candace?
Absolutely.
Right. That's what his attorney referred to it as, because he was affluent, right? He was a victim of his wealth, of his own.
Well, we know it now. We got a better word for it. We call it white privilege. But Candace, as a woman, talk to us about how this affects the psyche of young girls. Going forward. And I know you've got stories of young women who've been through those situations. A lot of women I found out who had these stories. Talk to us as men and people who are listening about how this translates to women going forward when they're dealing with these situations. Not to mention the boys who've been abused in these situations too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, so when you got boys and girls, they carry this for a lifetime.
True.
And so now we're saying, listen, it doesn't matter. You can't sue Michigan State. You can't sue Penn State. You can't sue the Catholic Diocese for ruining lives going forward. I mean, that is a terrible, terrible precedent to set. And we have, as a nation, have to come together and say, look, Betsy DeVos, I think we put it on her, but Trump needs to be held accountable for this during elections. Like, if you want to talk about Biden doing what he's supposed to do, Brother Vic, what he needs to do right now is have a commercial about that.
Okay, what was your question as a woman? You got disconnected there. As a woman, what was your question?
Absolutely.
Well, as a woman, I don't know if I don't need a personal story, but I'm sure you know people and women who have been through this sexual abuse, who carry these problems through for a lifetime. It's a tragic thing. Even young boys have to go through this. So here they are condoning this type of behavior.
That's another thing we're not considering too, because I think you want to just put the face of women on there, but men are sexually assaulted as well, and they're sexually assaulted by women, but they're also sexually assaulted by other men.
I agree.
And so that's another thing that they're not considering. I mean, if you look at that whole scandal with over at Penn State, those were men being sexually assaulted by men.
Yes, I agree. But I'm saying, but if you got a woman in Betsy DeVos condoning this, particularly if she's from Michigan. I mean, think about that. She's from Michigan. She knows what happened in Michigan State. She knows the stories. And here is a person from Michigan allowing this to happen.
It almost feels like she's one of those people that are like, don't let.
I can't hear Candace.
Well, I think. Can you hear me, Candace?
I can hear you. Can you all hear me?
I can't hear Candace.
Okay,
Mike, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Mike, but I can't hew Candace.
Okay.
Can anybody hear me when I'm talking?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay.
All right. Well. Here's a problem with what's going on with DeVos. She's okay with this, but it doesn't need to be her being talked about most. Joe Biden needs to have a commercial tomorrow talking about this problem and putting it on Trump's doorsteps.
True.
We don't need to be talking about DeVos. We need to be talking about the Trump administration is pushing for this. Just like the fact that the Trump administration is trying to fight Obamacare in the midst of this coronavirus. Nobody's talking about that. They are fighting Obamacare when people are losing their health care, need their health care now more than ever. You don't even know if you can struck tomorrow and you got to go to the doctor or the hospital. You are losing your care, and the Trump administration is trying to take your care away from you. They're trying to take health care away from you. This is crazy.
But this is the thing that is the absolute killer to me, is the fact that if you look at, I'm going to use Michigan as an example, is they're calling Gretchen Whitmer a dictator. When Gretchen Whitmer is acting within her emergency power acts, and not only that, but the executive orders that she's given, they all say temporary. They all have dates of expiration. Whereas these very people are standing on the front line with Trump signs, with Nazi signs, with Confederate flags, calling her a dictator. Meanwhile, you have Donald Trump, who has fired director after director, people, so there's no one to ask him any questions, no one for him to answer to. You have someone who openly tells you he's talking to foreign nations. You have someone who will tell you if somebody does something he does not like, he's going to get rid of them. That the Department of Justice, the things that they're doing, they're overstepping and overreaching. The EPA stands for in protecting in America at this point, because they're doing everything except for protecting America. So, that's right. But they want to call her a dictator. But I'm like, the very person that you're following, the very person that is leading you off this cliff is the one that is truly being a dictator.
Well, this is okay, Candace. This is what narcissists and liars do. This is their method of operandi. When you want to get rid of somebody, you call them out on it. So bringing up Beau Biden and Joe Biden's son was to take the view off of Jared Kushner and Trump's daughter. Nobody's even seen Trump's daughter lately. You know, she's sitting there. She don't want to get that COVID, right? So when you talk about the FBI and stuff like that, you want to take the view off and saying that they're criminals. You want to take the view off you being a criminal. You got to get rid of the police because you're doing bad. And this is the same methodology, Candace. You call somebody else a dictator when you're being the real dictator.
Absolutely.
You've been the real dictator.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so when you take somebody like FEMA and you instruct them to go in and steal masks from people getting deliveries because they didn't come through you and they went through their state organization.
Somebody named Aaron has a very interesting take. Aaron said that he predicts that Biden will drop out after he picks a VP running mate, forcing them to have to pick a new one.
No. Biden in this for the long haul. Biden, don't worry about that, Aaron. Biden's in this for the long haul. He'll be in it and to win it. They're trying to smear him with some old allegations that won't stick. He'll be running. I think obviously he's going to pick a woman to run.
You know what, Mike? You know what I will say about you? If nothing else, you have an allegiance to the party, boy. Boy,
no doubt.
Let me just say this.
No doubt.
Man, Vic, did you see that? Did you see that?
I understand politics enough to know what Aaron's talking about is conjecture. It doesn't make sense.
That's not even that. That's not even what I mean. Like, you don't even know. You have such an allegiance that you don't even know.
I'm a Democrat. I hold Democrats' feet to the fire. That's why listen, hold on. Remember this, y'all.
Vic, give him his blue cape. Give him his blue cape.
No doubt.
And I'm running that blue way, that blue tsunami, to White House. Or at least
I mean, with everything that is happening, you're not going to hear me argue that we have any other direction to go in. But what I'm saying to you is, boy, if nobody else is going to argue for the Democratic Party, you are going to argue.
Here's why. Let me see this. I'm being made. I think I told y'all this story one time. On the same date, this is like a year and a half ago. On the same date, the Democratic Party in Michigan and the Republican Party in Michigan were having their conventions. Now, I didn't know this at the time. I went to the place that we always have ours as a Democratic convention, which was at the convention center in Lansing. So I go to the convention center in Lansing, and I'm like, I don't see nobody I know. And I'm looking around, and I don't see no black folks or nothing. I'm like, well, I know a lot of white folks in the Republican Party, but I've been seeing some black folks by now, the Democrats. Like, what is going on? So I go in and I go to get my credentials, and they don't have my name. So I'm mad now. Like, hey, you don't have my name here. Guess where I was at? I was at the Republican convention. Now, I knew something was wrong when I walked in the room. I knew things didn't feel right. And even when I looked around, I didn't see anybody that looked like me.
Did you hear that, Vic? Did you hear that?
That's just walking in the convention. I knew I didn't feel right. So when I go to the convention, I see people look like me, look like us, deal with us, look like me and you, Candace. There's a much better place, and I feel comfortable when I walk in.
Did you run across a lone brother, Mike? Did you run across a lone Republican brother that was in there?
Did you hear him say he didn't feel right?
Brother. Look, when I saw him, I was like, oh, what's happening? But on my way out, I was like, he's like, oh, he was happy to see another black man.
Nah, his spidey senses started tingling. Those dim senses went off. I'm not at home. I'm not in the right place.
No doubt.
I didn't see no black women. I didn't see no black men except for that one dude. And I didn't see no white women running around running things. That's what happened. White women run things, black people around, and everything.
But hey, y'all, I gotta raise this point, Mike. Candace, I gotta raise this point, man. I gotta do it. Gotta do it, man. What's up with your governor, man?
Who's governor?
In terms of the case I made reference to last week before I got cut off.
She's doing great. She's doing great.
The lawsuit against the literacy of black children in the city of Detroit. You guys do know that there was a recent ruling that was handed down by the U.S. 6th District Court of Appeals, right? That ruled in favor of literacy for black children in the city of Detroit, right? You do know that Whitmer has not pulled the plug on that case. She has not tried to settle that case as of yet. And right now, you know what's happening? She had an out because the brother who ruled in that case gave her an out, right? She would be on the right side of history. But now, because of the lapse in time, 2 Republican legislatures now are making an appeal of that case. And as it stands, it might make its way back to the full U.S. 6th District Court of Appeals, man. And this case could be overturned because the jurors on that court are Republican. They're conservatives, Mike.
So here's the question.
What's up with your girl?
What would you have her do right now?
Man, I would have her settle the case. It's too late now. It's about to be taken out of her hands now.
Let me say this.
She had 2 years. She had 2 years.
Here's this. Look, she's trying to right the ship and fight. Let me say this though. I'm not taking her off the hook for this.
Yeah, no,
there's lots of things
we can't take her off the hook for that. She had 2 years. She had 2 years.
But at the same time, sometimes we have to watch what we want. So I'm not convinced.
Literacy for black children?
What does that mean?
And look, the jurist who ruled in favor of those children was a disciple of the famous Judge Keith. Damon Keith out of Detroit, one of the greatest jurists in the history of American legal system, man. Come on, man.
Hold up now. Better than Thurgood Marshall?
Come on, I'm saying one of. I said one of. I didn't say the Damon, but you're debating Damon Keith's record?
Don't, hey, Vic, don't let him pull your focus. Don't let him pull your focus. Make him answer this question. Make him answer this question.
So can I get 30 seconds? Let me get 30 seconds. Let me say it like this. We have to be very careful as black folks when people make new rules, because they're never in our favor. Even if it sounds like it's for us, sometimes it's not. So what's the thing they put in place when it was you might be charged with a hate crime? More black people being charged with hate crimes than white folks. So even hate crimes don't help us when it's supposed to be in place to help us. So we have to be very careful about saying we're going to put in new rules. What does literacy?
What the rules?
Let me speak to that. I got 5 more seconds. What kind of policy, once you say you guarantee literacy for black kids, what kind of policy follows that? Because that means what? Oh, now you're gonna snatch out black mothers if they ain't making sure their kids are in school, and you're gonna start putting them in jail, and because they're not adhering to the literacy laws. So now we're gonna have, instead of hate crime laws, we're gonna have literacy laws, and black folks are gonna get better held to them literacy laws. If you're not passing, now they can shut down your whole school and take it over. We better be careful.
Now Mike, we don't even know whether that's an argument, Mike. That we're talking about from a general standpoint. We're talking about the significance and the importance of literacy in the 20th century, in the 21st century, which is the most competitive global economy that has ever existed. If these children are going to have a future, they need STEM education. They need to master the sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Vic, let me get in here, Vic. What I will say is, I do agree with Mike on that. When you start saying that, you better have a definition of what you want. Because just saying literacy,
so look at the opposite side of the coin.
And you got to be careful. But Vic, you have to be careful. But you have to be careful that they're not using buzzwords that get you in your feelings.
But now we're speaking in hypotheticals, folks, right? Let's look at the opposite side of that. What happens without literacy? What happens without education? I've seen the detrimental effects of that as an educator. I've seen young people come into my classroom who were ill prepared. It was the classic case of the overlay for the underplay, man. The overplay for the underlay.
We do have somebody. We have a comment that says it means more testing, and then they also said that it's a great symbol, but in practice, and then they have the question marks. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Let's argue against literacy. Then they don't deserve literacy. They don't deserve literacy. Let's allow them to be illiterate. Let's allow them to be functionally illiterate. Let's allow, which we all know that when a person is uneducated, what's going to happen is they're going to go to prison, in jail, and via the 13th Amendment of the Constitution. What does that say, Candace?
Slavery.
It's legalized slavery.
Slavery.
That's the point I'm making. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you're gonna talk about one side of the coin, let's talk about the other side of the coin as well.
Wait, listen, we're talking about the country that I love, America. And you know
and we love America too, Mike.
Wait.
I am America.
I'm just talking about myself. What's good but I'm gonna talk about us now. What's good for white folks ain't always good for us. And because the rules
argue against literacy, Mike. I'm talking about literacy. I'm talking about being literate.
We have a comment.
QB said, I can't believe I'm having this argument, man.
QB said that they do have a right.
I can't believe it, man. I can't believe it.
Wait, Vic, let me read this comment. He said that they do. But you have to have concrete policy fixes. This is empty language.
Of course, we understand that, bro. I'm with you on that.
All right. So hold on. But think about this. And I don't know what happened, Mr. Vic. Somebody took you out. What happened? He gone. Oh, he back now. All right. So here's this is what I'm saying.
You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I can't
hear
you.
Here we are taking one controversial aspect.
I can't hear you guys.
We can hear you though. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. So here we are with one controversial aspect. And what we're doing with that one controversial aspect is throwing out the great governor we have with the baby in the bathwater. And these are the kind of things that the Republicans use. So we get split up. And it happened with Kamala Harris. Oh, man, I don't like Kamala Harris because she put black men in jail. Joe Biden did too. Who else would you support? Bernie? Bernie was for guns in Vermont. He put black folks in jail. We have to be very careful how we knock off one thing when I agree with people on 99% of the other issues. We want to argue about one issue and to the detriment of the whole party and to the detriment of us as a people.
Why does advocating for literacy automatically have to be negative? I can't even understand that. Why does it only have to be negative? How can literacy be negative? And I understand what you're talking about in terms of the policy issues, the language that's embedded in that. I get that. Have some respect for my intelligence. I would not argue for something that is erroneous or doesn't make sense.
Okay, so speaking of education, I'm gonna educate myself a little more about this, and I'm gonna come and I'm just speaking as a lay person.
I will too.
And I want to know who put it in place in the first place.
Absolutely.
I want to know. I want to know how it went through the system.
Absolutely.
What is the meaning behind literacy for black kids? Because we do have the ruling from the 1960s and the 1950s.
Brown v. Board of Education.
Well, we got equal justice.
But I gotta say this though, Mike. When we look at education in America, right now, Mike, public education is a two-tiered educational system. And Candace, you love this because it comes down to the haves versus the have-nots.
And in Michigan,
public education in American society comes down to the haves versus the have-nots.
Agreed.
And you know what they did in Michigan? They passed a small little law to change the way we do our taxes. And once again, black folks were on the bad end, and we wanted to guarantee education in Michigan for everybody.
You know what, Mike? It just sounds like you need more black lawmakers or something then, because this is crazy. I mean, just listening to you talk, that's what it sounds like. Not only do we need more black lawmakers, but we need knowledgeable lawmakers.
Yes.
We need people that know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Well, if that's the case, why don't we just vote for the black guy who's a Republican? We don't just need black.
I said knowledgeable lawmakers.
Hey, Mike, look, quiet as it's kept. You got to watch some of them Democrats, Mike. Quiet as it's kept. You got to watch some of them Democrats as well.
I tell you what, when I see a Republican who agrees with my values, and I'll vote for him or her. Okay. I ain't seen that yet.
Oh, I feel.
Okay, I have a comment. I want to make sure that we read these comments because people are taking the time to write them. The support for the cause is there. It's when we get to the meat and potatoes is where things get messy. Expecting the GOP ran state legislature to fund these measures is short-sighted at best.
QB, you on point, man. I don't know who you are, but you on point. Speak to it, brother.
I think that's Quentin.
All right, Quentin, that's a great point. That's it, no doubt. Because what he's saying is right, Mr. Vic, and what we keep doing is trying to fight these things in a visceral sense. Let's get to what
all I'm saying is look at both sides of the coin. That's all I'm saying.
Hey,
I would not advocate for anything that is erroneous.
This is the thing, though. So this is what's happening here, and this is the beautiful thing about the show being called "Whose Opinion Is It Anyway?" You have a diehard independent arguing with a diehard Dem about
hold on. The I'm a registered Republican. He's like an unregistered firearm. He's just shooting off everywhere.
I know.
I'm independent, bro. I'm independent.
No, Mike. I think what happens is you have such an allegiance to parties that any slight question of that, and you put on that blue cape.
No
I have no problem striking my color. This is the problem with people today. They don't want to strike their color. Yes, I'm a Democrat. Yes, I'm black. Did you know that too? Yes, I'm a USC member. Yes, I'm a vet. Do I need to? Yes, I'm 6'7". I mean, these are things. This is about me. But sometimes, yes, black people can be wrong. Yes, veterans can be wrong. Yes, UAW members can be wrong. And yes, Democrats can be wrong.
That's all I'm
but
saying,
I don't know all those things. No problem.
No doubt.
Yeah, no.
But here's the thing, though.
It's the Crips and Bloods, and I ain't with the Red Boys.
Now, this is the thing. This is the thing. You put on your blue cape, he puts on his purple cape, and it just does whatever.
But see, this is the kind of discussion, though, folks. This is the kind of discussion that we need to have more of. You know, me and Mike can go round and round like you and Mike Candace can go round and round. We all still cool. We all still friends. At the end of the day,
we still love each other.
But we need this kind of discussion, this kind of opinionated discussion that is an enlightened discussion.
I do agree, though. I do agree with the fact that something needs to be done, because the same thing happened. The students in Saginaw argued this same thing. Okay. What happened, and this was during Snyder, and what happened was the students in Saginaw were told that they had no right to a quality education, just an education. And so, then the same argument here is, and I agree with what Mike is saying, having worked in this world long enough, we cannot stroke broadly when we start to say right to literacy, because then what does that look like when you say that? And so what is needed here is you need knowledgeable and intelligent lawmakers that are able to understand you and your environment and where you're coming from, and they will actually enact laws that work for you. And at the very least, you need people that are going to be up there fighting for that at the very least. And I think what happens is, with a lot of Republicans, they're not fighting for too much of anything that looks right about now.
True.
I mean, a lot of this boils down to money and economy. And you got to explain this to me, though. If I'm a Republican and I'm in charge and my whole thought is money and economy, you tell me how much of ROI I'm going to get investing in little black kids that I'm going to try to oppress once they become adults anyway.
Absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. And you understand that, Candace. Look, here we are at 25 years or more with a Republican legislature. Now, the reason we have that is because they've cooked the books when it comes to the jurisdictions, to the boundaries, right? So as Democrats, instead of arguing sometimes, we've got to have a proper strategy with fighting this. This is the year 2020. If you haven't filled out the census, fill it out. It matters. Because we are going to lose this right now. Everybody's in the house. We're not filling out the census. Nobody's talking about it. We are going to lose legislative seats if we don't be careful.
They are looking at
true. Absolutely.
They are in Michigan.
What's that?
In Michigan, they are redistricting. There's supposed to be a separate commission that has nothing to do, that has no political ties, but we know how that works with people.
That's right.
QB said, go back and read the headlines from Engler's administration. Lots of gems there that speak to what we're seeing today on multiple issues.
Yes. Engler was the man who started this. He was Michigan's Ronald Reagan, and he put in things in place that we're still struggling through now. The way our schools are funded, that's John Engler. Our terrible roads, John Engler. If you can go down the line, and he is at fault with a lot of these things. Plus, we had this Republican legislative body that has gone through and messed this state up. We are now Mississippi. We ain't Michigan no more. We
Mississippi of the North. No doubt about that.
This used to be a state that was first in everything. Now we're at the bottom of every list, and we're first with everything that's bad, just like we are with the COVID and
we
everything else.
We got a comment that says he paid his investors. Simple.
And let me say this too. One of the problems we have too is we have term limits. I think we need to get rid of those. But nobody.
Let me stop you there. Let me stop. Hey, Vic.
See, that's the problem.
It's clear whose show he does not watch when he's not on it.
No doubt.
It's clear. Let me explain something to you. When you say we don't need term limits, are you talking about Michigan or federal? Or are you talking about both? Because let me help you out. We absolutely need term limits. There's no doubt in my mind that we need term limits. Nobody should be allowed to sit anywhere until they die. Because the reason we are where we are is because we do not have term limits. Stop.
Wait a minute. We have. Can I get 10
Now, if you said something like we need to lengthen certain term limits, okay, I might give you that. In the Michigan Senate, they get two 4-year term limits, so they get to sit there for 8 years. And in the House, every time you turn around in Michigan, it's time to run again. So if you want to maybe do some tweaking there, that's fine. But to say don't have any term limits, absolutely not. They need to get out.
So let me give you to you wonderful millennials. Let me talk to you about the issue. So when we didn't have, you always have term limits, Candace. They're called vote them out. You can always.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. It's not that simple. And don't you dare act like politics works that simple. Don't you dare act like it works that simple. No, I'm not going to sit up here and let you do that one. You know it's not.
So I can bring some clarity to this. Here what term limits look like. You've been on your job. You got the most knowledge and information. You're an electrician. And they say, look, you've been working for 8 years. You got to leave. You leave all that knowledge and information, and you gone. Here comes a new guy in, messing up the electricity, shutting off the power.
Let me help you out. Let me help you out for why that doesn't work. Let me help you out for why that doesn't work in politics. You ready? You ready for why that doesn't work in politics?
I didn't give my 30 seconds, but go ahead.
Here's reason number one why that doesn't work in politics. Because just because I've got 8 years worth of institutional knowledge and 8 years worth of knowing how to do something doesn't mean I did it for the people. Doesn't mean I did it for right. Doesn't mean that I didn't line my pockets financially. That just means I got 8 years. Now, depending on my character, that's what changes it. But I shouldn't be entitled to 8 more years if I'm basically holding the country hostage or holding my position hostage, or if I'm doing stuff because I'm getting money, so I'm working on behalf of corporate interests. Why should we then tell you there's no limit? You need a limit on your greed and on your ignorance. Number two, hold on. Number two, you and I both know. We both know firsthand that just because a legislator leaves doesn't mean the knowledge leaves, because the staff does a lot of that job, a lot of that work. The staff does a lot of that. The knowledge doesn't leave just because the legislator leaves. The person in that seat leaves when they leave, and that's all that leaves. Stop it. That knowledge is still there. That knowledge is still there.
So can I get in? Can I get answer now? So first of all, let me ask you number two first. First of all, I didn't elect the staff. So I elected the legislature. And when the legislature leaves, his staff does leave, or if they don't leave, they should be gone too, because I didn't elect the staff, I elected the legislator or legislative body or whoever.
Leave. A lot of people keep the staff because the staff have the knowledge. The staff has the knowledge.
Can I get 30 seconds, please? Can I know so? Can I get 30 seconds? But as to the institutional knowledge, it does lead. You can make stronger votes when you've been there for a while, or you got an opportunity. You can say, listen, I'm up for election. The people will judge me, and then I can leave if they want me out for what I did. But nobody makes tough decisions now because they want to go in and just raid the pot. If I know I'm going to be for 6 years, I'm going in smoking, I'm raiding the pot, I'm getting everything I can. I'm going to be a lobbyist when I get out. That's going to do the real work for people.
No, because you have them sitting in Congress for 30 years and they've been raiding the pot for 30 years. Exactly. So all you're doing is telling me there's no limit on how long I can raid the pot. That's all you're telling me.
So let me put because we're all black here. Let me put a black spin on this.
And it doesn't matter what spin you put on it. Listen, look at me, Mike. White, black, blue, purple, yellow, green, or orange. You need a term limit. I don't care what color you are. You need a term limit.
Look. I know the show. Give me 1 second. Here's what I'm going to say, and this happens in the workplace many times. Once we get into a particular spot, people who look like me and you, they want to change the rules. So as we were electing all these black legislative people coming into office, they decided to come up with this thing called term limits. Let's get them keep turnover going. See, because when I got I ain't gonna use John Conyers, but I can use him. When we finally got Maxine Waters and the brother who just died from Baltimore and other great blacks who finally get into that spot. Guess what? They'll never make it there because they get turned over, and you got some new guy coming in who may or may not be black or who may not be having that institutional knowledge. We've got to make sure we get rid of these term limits. That's what's killing Michigan. So let's talk about Michigan.
So all I heard, let me tell you something. All I heard was, let me tell you, because all I heard, let's stop at that point. All I heard was, you want a system that ain't playing fair for you anyway. You want to take away the limits, believing that they're still going to allow you to have a seat. That just means now we got you to agree that there are no term limits. We can now change the rule on that, and we can put more white, brown, more white, Asian, whatever, in that seat, so we don't have to put you in that seat. So now you're completely locked out because there is no limit on how long you can be locked out. Stop it.
Well,
just because you take away a term limit, just because you put a term limit in, doesn't mean the seat's going to be a black person's seat. It doesn't matter.
Candace, we have less black elected officials now in Michigan than we did. And if you take away those term limits, you're going to see even less black elected officials. No, you won't. You'll see more. Because those that are there can sit down and make legislative law. They understand and we can move on.
You don't believe that. You don't believe that.
Why do you not listen? We can always throw the bums out. We can always throw the bums out, but
no, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. Turnover is a perfect example of what happens if you let the wrong person get in with power. They're going to make it move however they want to make it move. Stop it.
That's why they put the term limit. So
Mike, that's so short-sighted. That's so short-sighted. That's short-sighted to say the term limits will help, removing term limits will help black people. No, it won't. No, it won't.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will because of. Yes, it will because it's called tenure, Candace. It's called tenure. It's called tenure.
Thank you. Even Quentin said, Mike, what country are you talking about? What country are you talking about?
Let me give you an example. You take a young white guy coming in now, and you got a young older black legislative person who's been there, who's got institutional knowledge. He's from Flint. And he's got institutional knowledge. He's going to bring more things back to Flint because he understands what's going on. That young guy just getting in.
Hey, you about to make me. Hey, Mike, I know you do not want me to add all them legislators that Flint done sent up there. Stop it. All those legislators that Flint has sent to Lansing, and we have gotten nothing out of it. And all of those legislators that we have sent are legislators with institutional knowledge. So stop it. That argument doesn't work. We've sent plenty of people from Flint with institutional knowledge who have gotten nothing back. They brought nothing back to us. Nothing.
And if they
we've done that.
If they did do what we wanted, we could vote them out, Candace. If they didn't do what we wanted, we could vote them out.
But that doesn't work. That doesn't work because you yourself have made the argument that people keep getting reelected just based off of their name. You yourself made that argument.
Listen. Michigan is in, because we passed term limits 20 years ago, 20 years ago. We're in worse shape. How has term limits helped us? I'll wait.
But Mike, your argument though, let me tell you, your argument, you're talking about people with institutional knowledge bringing stuff back to Flint. We've sent plenty of people up there with institutional knowledge who have brought nothing back to Flint. I'm happy they were term limited. I am happy because they kept getting reelected on their name. They kept getting reelected on their name and not bringing anything back to Flint. I'm happy they had term limits. I'm happy they had them.
I don't want to make this too personal, but let me make it a little bit personal. So let's say we finally get a great person like Candace Mashat up at the legislative body. And we
then Candace better handle her business while she's in there. Then Candace better handle her business while she's in there.
Candace is up there like, I only got 6 years. I ain't got time. These people that's been there for 2 years before me got all the appointed positions. They got all the spots because they got tenure. And by the time I get my 6 years in, I ain't gonna know what's going on. I can't bring nothing back, and I'm gonna be on my way out. I'm looking out for the next new job. I'm gonna be running.
Let me tell you something. First of all, since you used Candace Mashat as an example, since you used her as an example, the first thing I'm gonna say to that is, if she knows she has a term limit, she better get up there and do what she knows needs to be done. Second of all, if you want that job, you better know it's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week job. So you better figure it out. If you feel like you're coming in and you're already behind, then you better run your butt off to get to that finish line.
Yeah.
But then to use the argument of I'm not going to give them a term limit, and Mike, you You are from Flint. You know firsthand. You know firsthand.
Term limits. Term limits is why we had so many legislators. If we got one up there and we say, listen, this is what we want you to do, and we're gonna vote you out to make the harder decision. They can stand up to the pressure of the lobbyists. Because you know you can still be there with people that agree with you.
The pressure of lobbyists. Mike, how you
They're not doing it now because they got term limits. Lobbyists control them because of term limits.
Mike, Congress doesn't have term limits and the lobbyists still control them. What is your point?
And you can say to any congressman, this is what's gonna happen if you out. What's her name?
Mr. Congress is still sitting off and doing whatever you feel like doing. Stop it.
Ocasio-Cortez and all the legislators we got. What's the young lady down by Jackson, Michigan? What's the one lady by Jackson, Michigan? She's got held her feet to the fire. She got 2 years to get her stuff together. She be voted out. We just had time. We just got the.
Hey, man.
What's up?
I'm calling it at 6:16 p.m. on Friday. What's today? May 8th? Friday, May 8th at 6:16 p.m. Michael Harris has lost his mind. I'm calling.
Hey, listen. I'm telling you. Listen. I've gained my mind because when I was your age, I figured this out. Because back in the day,
so then when you were my age, you lost your mind. That's when you lost. You lost it before today. Because your arguments make no sense. To say that lobbyists control them because they have no term limits. When you are looking at a Congress that is controlled by lobbyists and they have no term limits, stop.
Wait a minute.
That is why lobbyists can control them. When half the argument is we couldn't find a good candidate for the Dem Party because half the argument was half of special interest money. Stop it.
No doubt.
In the Congress, did we just have a turnover in the Congress in 2018?
Stop.
Now, a lot of people got spots. We got a bunch of spots that never go to the Democrat. We got those spots. Not because of term limits. We got those spots because of voting people out.
How long did that take? How long did that take? How long did that take?
2 years.
That took longer than 2 years. No, it took way longer than 2 years.
Well, hold on, wait. Once the tide turns, and if we're not careful, we can go back in. But I'm speaking to the main point I'm trying to make. If you want them out, you can get them out. But term limits is not proving anything for us.
Term limits have proven the ability to purge bad leaders that voters have not had sense enough to vote about. That's what term limits have done. They have purged us of bad leadership that voters have not voted.
You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. What are we talking about here?
Yes, you do. Some of them got to go. Baby and bathwater. See, that's a demonic baby. That baby can't stay. Bye-bye, baby.
No. See, there's two kinds of people in the world. People that want to fix it and tweak it, or people that want to throw the whole thing. And I can't argue with that. If you want to throw the whole thing out, that's why we're in the situation we're in now. Burn it down, Candace. Burn it down.
That's not why we're in the situation we're in now. The situation we're in now is because you have people who have not been limited in their power, because you have people who have not been stopped. That's why we are where we are now.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Listen, listen.
Hey, all I heard was Mike wants, and QB, I agree with you. Trump is trying to eliminate his term limit, and Mike is for it. Mike wants Mike said democracy doesn't work.
Hold on a minute. Let me get to that point.
Forget.
The president didn't always have term limits. The presidential term limits came in after FDR. We haven't always had.
I'm snatching your blue tape because you just said.
Hold on. Let me see. We were still having problems. We didn't have term limits. What you talking about?
Quentin, did that answer your question? That is what Mike wants. That's what Mike wants. This whole time, Mike had us believing he was a Dem and out jumped the Republicans. This whole time.
Hey, I have the family values. I'm for conservative principles. Yes.
Man.
Most Democrats, we actually live the values that we talk about. Republicans are the ones.
So, Mike, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm done, because the fact that you argued that lobbyists control them because they have term limits, when you have the whole congressional, the whole U.S. Congress sitting up there without term limits that is controlled by lobbyists.
When you first come in, the lobbyists tell you in Lansing where to go, what to do. You trying to find out. You trying to get to these new boards. You brand new rookie. It takes you 2 years to even figure out where the bathroom is. It takes you 2 years to figure out where the bathroom is. And then before you figure that out, now you're like, I only got 4 years. I'm gonna steal everything I can.
Mike, let me tell you something. Mike, let me tell you something. I'm either going to take. I'm either going to take your imagined view, or I'm going to take my first-hand account. I'm pretty sure I'm going to take my first-hand account. That's not true.
No. Can I bring this home in 30 seconds? Can I bring this home in 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
All right, so let me bring it home to you like this. And let me talk about the workplace, for example.
Oh, Lord.
When you come into the workplace, sometimes you have individuals who decide, you know what? I like it here. This will be okay. And if you got job security, you can go out and do things. You tell the boss, look, boss, we can't do it that way because of A, B, and C. But if you know you could be fired next week, and you're worried about being a temporary person or being on the job as a temporary person, you do whatever they do and whatever they want, and you don't do the job to the best of your ability because you because you don't have security. Job security makes things better. You can speak truth to power. That matters. You don't want a bunch of temps working for you.
You're over your 30 seconds. You're over your 30 seconds. You're over your 30 seconds, and I am again going to point to U.S. Congress as an argument against you. I'm going to keep pointing back to the obvious, because again, you've got people with job security who are doing whatever they want to do because I'm not going to lose my job. Stop. Term limits don't help that.
Of course, because they know they still got to deal with the voters. The voters can still vote them out.
They don't care nothing about dealing with you. They don't care nothing about answering you. They're showing you they don't care, because you know what they're going to do? They're going to take that lobbyist money that's going to run campaigns and bamboozle enough people to get themselves back in, or enough people aren't going to pay attention, so they're basically going to go vote. Or you're going to recognize their name, and that's the only name you recognize on the ballot where you don't already know what's going on, and you're going to vote them back in. Stop. If they are limited, whereas if they are limited in their term, their name is not on that ballot for them to get back in there and finish taking advantage of the American people, finish taking advantage of the people of Michigan, finish stealing money. If your name is not on the ballot, then your things are over.
So why do the Republicans get thrown out in 2018?
Man.
Why do the Republicans get thrown out in 2018?
Quentin has a good point. Employees are not elected. Well, technically.
Yeah, but speak to laws. Exactly. But if you got jobs, you're gonna do a better job than you ain't doing it.
So Candace, Mike, where are the people in this conversation, right?
According to Mike, the people are nowhere, because you're taking the power from the people by telling them that these elected officials don't need term limits. Just let them sit up there. Just let them sit up there. Ain't no limit. It don't matter what you want.
It's about we the people. It's about we the people, Mike.
Candace kind of people don't trust the people to make decisions on who they want in their office. See, they don't trust people, but they just put in laws to get them out, no matter what. You gotta trust the people to make the decisions.
Quentin also has a good point. Quentin has a good point too about redrawing of the districts and stuff. Flint went through that. There are ways around what you're talking about. And if you don't give these people term limits, you are in trouble. You are in trouble if you don't give these people term limits. And if you are not looking at the U.S. Congress recognizing that you are in trouble,
if I know I'm only gonna be on the job for 6 years, I'm going in and I'm looking for the next job.
That means you were a thief anyway, and you were gonna steal from me anyway.
That's right.
That's all that means. You were gonna steal from me anyway.
Now, that's why we can't good people to run for the jobs. We got people who want in for opportunity because they're only gonna be there for a short while. If you have people to say, you know what, I can make a career out of this. I can do good things for the people.
Did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what he just said? So right now, there's no elected official with a term limit who's a good person. They are all a poor character looking for another job. That's
what I didn't say. Let me say this. You know, and I know, you have everybody and their mama running. You be like, where are all the good qualified people? They're like, man, I don't want to mess with that nonsense. It's crazy. I'm not messing with that.
That's not true. There are still qualified people crazy enough to run. They might not win, but they're crazy enough to run.
Every 2 years or every 4 years, you can throw them out. You can throw them out.
But who cares? If you're telling me you're going up there for the right reason, if you're telling me you're going up there for the right reason, whether you got 2 years, whether you got 4 years, whether you got 6 years, you're going to try to make the best of those years. It doesn't matter. If you're telling me you're going up there for the right reason, it doesn't matter how many years you have. You're going to try to make the best of those years. This argument makes no sense. It makes no sense.
You don't have faith in the people to vote folks out every 2 years if they need to?
Do you want me to answer that? Because I need you to know. I keep seeing time and time again. First of all, Trump is in office. Start there. That's the first I don't know about people. Second of all, there are plenty of people who do absolutely nothing. And since you used Flint as an example before, when you said you put people back in who have institutional knowledge, or you send people with institutional knowledge, Flint has sent plenty of legislators to Lansing with institutional knowledge, and we've gained nothing from it.
That's not true. That's not true. They all had term limits. The last 20 years, they had term limits. They had term limits. It doesn't
matter. Your argument was if you send people up there with institutional knowledge, they'll know what they're doing.
Well, let me say this. Before term limits, we had an opportunity for Flint to get much more pork. And that's what you want to do. Bring something back to your area. You gain knowledge. You get that institutional knowledge. You get on seats. You understand what's going on, and you can tell your people in your district, hey, I'm going to bring this back to you. That's how it works, Candy.
I think we're at an impasse, folks. We're at an impasse on this issue.
That's right. Hey, come on, Minister Vic. Brother Vic,
here we
what
go.
You got to say?
And QB just said it. One of Flint's major problems is that we keep people around with the supposed institutional knowledge. Mike, the bottom line is people with knowledge are not necessarily always a good thing.
Who do we have in the city council or anywhere else who's been on for a long time? Nobody. And we voted them out. That's part of our problem. We keep voting out some of the good people and we keep putting in bad people.
Flint is a cautionary tale about keeping people on with institutional knowledge. We are a cautionary tale.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yes, we are.
It's a cautionary tale on this. If this
is the case, and I have this institutional knowledge, what's to keep me from hoarding everything that I know to keep me in this position and not really giving you anything or parceling out what I'm going to do for you? What's to keep me from doing that? I can sit there with all this knowledge and never really serve you because I know you're going to keep me knowledge just because you think I know what I'm doing.
I'm not even going to talk about the racial aspects when it comes to Flint. We ain't going to even get into that because that's a whole ball of wax. But when you have legislators and people who can understand what's going on, go out to their wards, people know them, they understand how to get in contact. Look, we've had listen, Candace, we've had more problems with privatization and the whittling down of jobs.
And who allowed that privatization? Who allowed that privatization? The people with the institutional knowledge allowed that privatization. Yes, they did. The privatization isn't new. We didn't become privatized because of any new people. Stop it.
Every council person we have on there is a newbie. Every one of them is a newbie. And what are they doing? Nothing. Come on now, we can't say that.
No, you said they're still around our city politics, and you know that. Stop it, Mike. We're gonna have to agree to disagree because right now I'm telling you, this makes no sense. We are 30 minutes over because Mike has jumped off this cliff. I'm trying to pull him back up, but I can't.
What about the people, Mike? The people. That's right. Back to the people, right? We the people.
If you're not doing the job, they'll vote you out. That's what America's supposed to be about. Not about term limits and doing something for the lobbyists. Did you know this, Candace? Let me say this to you. I was just bringing this is my last point. The Republicans are the ones who always push for term limits. Just remember that. All right? And so
you ain't hurt my feelings because you're telling me I'm in line with a belief. With some Republican belief, I don't care. I'm still feeling like they should have term limits. I don't care.
They ain't going for nothing that's good for people to look like me and you. That's all I'm telling you. So I got a little history on my side. I've seen it when black folks finally get in a position, they got the seniority. Here they come with a new rule. Who put in term limits? Oh, that means you had to have these kind of qualifications for the job. Any kind of white guy they wanted in that room job. They put any kind of white guy they wanted in that job.
As soon as you were sounding so crazy that the stream kicked me off. The stream was like, Terrence, you gotta stop.
Yeah.
This makes no sense. You gotta let it go.
Because you haven't worked at the same job for 30 years. I have, and I've seen how they treat blacks who've been come up through the system. I've seen
Mike, it don't matter. It don't matter. It don't matter.
I've seen women get treated wrong. They've got the institutional knowledge, they get to seniority, and they say, well, we don't care. We're gonna bring in new little Billy Joe who just got it.
Billy Joe.
Okay, all right. And Mike, if that is your argument of people with institutional knowledge stayed in and still got done wrong, you just proved my point. We'll see you. Now, we want to thank everybody for tuning in to Whose Opinion Is It Anyway with Candace
and Victor
and special guest Michael Harris. We'll be back here next week, screaming and shouting. Hopefully you'll come and you'll comment with us 5 o'clock.
Do your homework, Mike.
I'm just saying, because Vic is ready to debate you about that. So we want to invite everybody to tune in again next week at 5 p.m. So Whose Opinion Is It Anyway? Because apparently we are good for this, and Mike likes to make irrational points. But on that note, tune in again next week to Whose Opinion Is It Anyway? Thank you. Bye-bye.
Peace.